Hey, Mystic Michaela spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. Today, we are talking about some supernatural phenomena. It's 3 parts. Part 1, we're going to tell you this amazing story about the Mothman. That's going to be our jumping off point. For part 2, we're going to talk about the theories and we're going to talk about other phenomena associated with it. And then in part 3, we're going to talk about the Mothman today and your stories, which are the most bone-chilling things I think I've ever read in a long time. But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. Well, yeah, this was my idea.
It was.
And I've truly been, I've truly been fascinated with the Mothman for my whole life.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like you could be friends with the Mothman.
I might have seen him. But, no, seriously. Actually, I just saw the movie with Richard Gere, and then I was like, oh, let me look into this.
There's a really good movie called The Mothman Prophecies with Richard Gere, but it's actually based off, I guess, a true story.
Yeah, I mean...
True, with quotes around it. That's what the point of this is.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're going to find out if it's true. Yes. It is based off of the Mothman Prophecies that was written by author John A. Keel, originally in 1975.
Okay, so that's our jumping off point. You're going to tell us what happened. Go ahead.
Okay, so, yeah, let me just a quick background on John Keel. He was a UFOologist. Mm-hmm. I don't know, is that the correct term?
Yeah, UFOologist.
UFOologist, okay. And basically, he lived in New York City, and he was called to this town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, in the 60s to investigate what was going on. A lot of UFO sightings, a lot of sightings of this character called the Mothman. All right, so the story takes place in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, 1967. And the sightings, there's a lot of different sightings. There's 3 types of sightings that are going on here. Okay. There's UFOs. There are men in black. Okay. And we'll talk about the men in black later. Actually, the film Men in Black comes from they coined the term from
his own term, Men in Black, for their movie.
Correct.
Okay, interesting.
John Keel's term was Men in Black.
His term.
That's his term.
All right.
That's his term. And then the Mothman.
Okay. So there's 3 things going on.
There's 3 things going on. About 13 months. This is taking place for 13 months, and it culminates with there's a bridge. Okay, so Point Pleasant, it's the Ohio River.
Yes.
So it connects West Virginia to Ohio. This bridge is called the Silver Bridge. Mm-hmm. Okay, and basically, people went back and forth for commerce, whatever. They had loved ones on the other side, so it was a very used bridge. Anyway, the Silver Bridge collapses on December 15th, 1967. 46 people are killed.
Okay.
46 people die in the tragedy.
Wow. Okay.
But again, 13 months before that, all these strange UFO sightings, Men in Black, Mothman are taking place.
How many sightings are you talking about?
Okay, so for the Mothman itself, just people who have accounts of seeing the Mothman, over 100 sightings.
Whoa.
Yeah. And most of the witnesses, when they said the same thing about him, and this is basically what they were all in agreement on. Okay. It's a gray figure. Larger than a man, or larger than a large man, let's say, so about 6 feet in height. Wingspan of 10 feet, they claim.
Wings.
Yeah, it had wings.
Okay.
2 bulging red eyes.
So they all say this?
Pretty much every account said this.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. And it flew like a helicopter. So people never really saw it flap the wings.
It just rises up like a helicopter does.
It just rises up like a helicopter.
That's very specific.
Very specific.
Like the way that it's movement. Okay.
Yeah. And along with that, there was a lot of mysterious lights going on at the time. A lot of animals were killed in brutal manner. Oh. They found like a lot of, dead dogs. I don't want to scare the indigos and blues here, but a lot of dead dogs, cows.
Like disturbing killings.
Disturbing killings were during this time period. And then these strange occurrences with these men in black continuously coming around the town and asking questions.
So they were just men wearing...
Yeah, I'm going to get to the men in black in a little bit.
Okay.
After we break it.
That's a whole thing.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. So let me go. The first time that the Mothman, or one of the first sightings, this is the sighting that basically makes it national headlines.
Okay, so these were going on, but this is the one that...
This was close to the beginning. There was a couple of accounts before this, but this is the one that starts the dam of people being interested in the dam to break.
Yes.
The dam to break. Okay. So the first sighting was November 15th, 1966. Linda and Roger Scarberry, I hope I pronounced their name right, Scarberg, and Stephen and Mary Millett.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I botched the names. So 11:30 p.m., they're hanging out in what they call the TNT area. Okay.
Right.
The TNT area was this ammunition site during World War II. So during World War II, this area in the Ohio Valley near Point Pleasant was used as a huge factory to build munitions for the war.
Oh, that's a lot of vibe.
Yeah, a lot of vibe there.
Like you're creating things to kill people.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's like a vibe to me. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of explosives.
Yeah.
And they hid them. A lot of them were hidden under the ground. All these explosives were hidden.
Like in bunkers?
Like they called them igloos, correct. So they had like these hundreds of igloos that were like kind of like mounds. If you see them, they're really creepy. We'll actually have to probably put a picture of that up somewhere.
They look like, oh, wow. I know what you mean. Yeah, because they have grass over them and stuff.
Right. There's grass over them. There's like a little door to get in.
Yeah.
And there's hundreds of these in this huge, massive area, about 8,000 acres.
Okay.
And then there's this factory building weapons and, whatever, they're, chemicals and all these type of things for World War II.
Okay.
But again, that's in, the 1940s. Now it's abandoned.
It's abandoned.
Now, but there's probably stuff still under the ground.
It's abandoned, but you're not allowed to go in.
Yeah, but the kids in the area all did. Everybody always did.
It's like Stranger Things.
Yeah, a little like Stranger Things.
Okay.
So anyway, the kids were hanging out 11:30 p.m. the TNT area. Mm-hmm. Maybe there was some Jumanji going on. Who knows?
Maybe.
And the claim is they saw this Mothman. Okay.
Okay.
They gave the same characteristics, the bulgy red eyes, the wings, the height, the gray, and they put their foot on the brake.
Wow!
They claimed they were going 100 miles an hour to get rid of him, to get away from him, and he followed them, and he was like clanging on their car. They claimed,
really?
Like he banged into their car. He followed them along the highway.
Who'd they tell this to?
They went to the police.
They did?
Yeah, right out. Yeah, they did. Go to the police and then went to the news. And the news outlets picked it up.
So they were freaked out enough. Was like a report filed? Did you know that?
Yeah, a report was filed.
So they were serious enough to go to the cops.
Yeah. These are the 100 accounts that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Were all reported accounts.
Oh, wow.
There could have been more accounts that people did not report, or maybe people saw it one time and they didn't report it again. Who knows?
That says to me people believed it.
People definitely believed it.
Yes.
Yeah, and once it broke, the news story broke with these four kids that had seen the Mothman, and that basically set off a frenzy of people starting to pile in to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, in 1966 and into 1967.
Wow!
To the bridge collapses.
Okay.
The Mothman, the term they got was from Batman. Was a huge hit at the time.
Okay.
The TV series, not the movie.
Series.
Yeah, the
Long
TV series
time ago,
was huge, so they called him. Instead of Batman, they called him Mothman. That's where they got the term from.
Okay, because maybe the eyes and the wings. And,
yes, and there are other accounts of Mothmen. They don't use the name Mothman in different time periods in our history.
Okay,
we can get into that in part 2.
In part 2, okay.
Okay. So that's basically the story behind it. And then here comes John Keel. He hears of this, this encounter and all these encounters, and he's been studying UFOs, and he goes to the town to investigate what is going on. And what he uncovers is this whole thing with Mothman, and he gets really involved in it. But we can save that for part 2.
Let's do a couple ads, and then we'll get back into it in part 2. Hey, Scotty, we're talking about wild grain.
Wild grain, I absolutely love it. As you guys know, it got me through my existential crisis when NASA put up the photos.
It did.
I love everything. I love the pasta. I love the croissants. I love the sourdough bread.
And it ships right to your house, and it's just amazing stuff. And it's comfort food you can feel good about eating. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen box for artisanal bread. Plus, they have amazing rolls, pastries, and even handmade pastas. Wild Grain only uses clean ingredients such as unbleached and non-GMO flour and utilizes a slow sourdough fermentation process that's better for you and tastes better than anything you can find in a grocery store. It's also very filling, I have to say, I think, because it's healthier. Plus, for every new member, Wild Grain donates 6 meals to the Greater Boston Food Bank. They've donated over 120,000 meals so far. Here's how it works. Sign up and choose which type of box you want to receive and how often. Then Wild Grain delivers for free a box of breads, pastas, and pastries with easy-to-follow instructions. Every item bakes from frozen in 25 minutes or less. Traveling? Freezer already stocked? No problem. It's easy to reschedule, skip, or even cancel. Hungry already? For a limited time, you can get $30 off the first box plus free croissants in every box when you go to wildgrain.com/KYA to start your subscription. You heard me. Free croissants in every box and $30 off your first box when you go to wildgrain.com/KYA. That's wildgrain.com/KYA, or you can use promo code KYA at checkout. You just need to take better care of yourself is not a response to mental health struggles. You know, you live with it. Sometimes you need something more to achieve a real and lasting breakthrough. Maybe it's time you check out a guided ketamine therapy program from MindBloom. MindBloom is the leader in at-home ketamine therapy, offering a combination of science-backed medicine with clinician and guide support for people looking to improve their mental health and well-being. MindBloom connects patients to licensed psychiatric clinicians to help them achieve better outcomes with lower costs, greater convenience, and an artfully crafted experience. To begin, take MindBloom's online assessment to determine if MindBloom is right for you. If approved, you'll schedule a video consult with a licensed clinician where you'll discuss your goals and expectations for mental health treatment. MindBloom will send you a kit in the mail complete with medicine, treatment materials, and tips for getting the most out of your experience. After only 2 sessions, 87% of MindBloom clients reported improvements in depression and 85% reported improvements in anxiety. It's time to enter the next chapter in mental health and well-being. Let MindBloom guide you. Right now, MindBloom is offering our listeners $100 off your first 6-session program when you sign up at mindbloom.com/KYA. Go to mindbloom.com/KYA for $100 off your first 6-session program today. That's mindbloom.com/KYA. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
Okay, so we have all these sightings going on in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. It garners national attention. John Keel, this UFOologist and journalist, decides to go right in there. And what happens next?
All right. So enter Mary Hyre.
Okay.
She is going to become like his confidant, his pal, his buddy. Some people say there might have been something going on between the two of them. Okay. But she is the local reporter for Point Pleasant. So for their newspaper, she also has a column. You know, today we'd have like a blog or your Instagram post. But
sure.
She had like the column at the time.
What was it about? Like just happenings?
Usually it was just about like happenings in Point Pleasant.
Okay.
But when the sightings happened with the Mothman and the UFO and these men in black, which we're going to get to right in 2 seconds now, she's the one that they tell. So she's like, I would say she's like the pulse of Point Pleasant. Like she's like the person you go to. If you're coming in from all over the country and you want to know what's going on here with these UFOs and the Mothman, Mary Hyre is the person you're going to go to. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So my question to you, actually, I'm going to turn the tables here for a second. What are her colors? We have to know this.
No, that's really interesting because you gave me people's names and then without knowing the story, and I grabbed photos so I could look at their auras. And looking at Mary Hyre, she's green and she's blue too.
Okay.
So she's got this vibe, and it's kind of it's a little kooky, but it's also very earnest. And I feel like she loves her town, which makes sense. Right. That's like I would have said, like she really loves what she does, loves her town. And I do feel like with her, she has an ability to see beyond if things logically make sense. So being green, I feel like she's an open-minded green person. And she feels like she can really gather a lot of vibes when she does. I feel like that's how she connects. Like she would write, and when she wrote, it made like a psychic connection to the town. So even writing about, oh, we had this festival, or this is what's happening in the school this weekend, or here's our seasonal whatever going on. When she's doing that in kind of a green person way, like very factual and reporter, but cute and quaint and all that, there's a heart to it. That's how she's making these energetic connections with her town, which I could totally see some other entity hopping in on, kind of like a highway to get messages to her.
Okay, it's interesting. And she did have some premonitions.
Okay.
I'll tell you about the Men in Black, and then we'll go to this premonition.
Okay.
All right, so she saw these people that are called the Men in Black. She was one of the first people to witness it.
Okay.
So what were the Men in Black? All right, now there were many, many accounts of these. Okay, and they all kind of had the same description of these people, or maybe they weren't people.
Right.
They were oddly dressed. They had long, pointy fingers. They had pointy features.
They all said this?
They all said this.
That's crazy.
Pretty much every single person said this the same exact description.
Wait, real quick.
Yes.
Did this make the news too, or is this something that happened after John Keel showed up?
This happened, I think, before John Keel showed up.
Okay.
Yeah, that people were seeing that Men in Black. The big thing that made the news, and I'm sure this might have too, was the UFO sightings and the Mothman. The Mothman was like the draw.
Okay.
Everyone would wait every night at the TNT area. Yeah. They called it the TNT area.
Right.
And they would hope to see the Mothman.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, John Keel actually was also doing this at the time. I'm getting a little off track here, but he would go to different spots. He was looking more to find UFOs and Men in Black.
Okay, sorry. Get back. All right, so long, pointy features.
Long, pointy features, dark suits, black suits, outdated. Okay, so they weren't like suits of the time period. Old cars, but they were brand new. Weird. So they were like, they'd pull up in like a 50s Buick. Remember, it's the 60s. But the car should be old, but it was brand new looking.
And everybody said this. Who saw them?
Everyone said that. Dark olive complexion.
Okay.
And then there was like a lot of accounts of them acting strange. So there was one account where these Men in Black walked into a diner and they didn't know how to use utensils. Huh? They didn't know what like a fork and a spoon was.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah. They had accounts where they didn't know speech, or they didn't know certain words, or they had to slow down their talking or speed up their talking.
So they're frequencies.
They're frequencies. Now, John Keel's theory on this, and we can maybe get into this more a little bit later, is that they're maybe ultra-terrestrials.
Oh. That
they're of Earth, or not of this earthly plane, but from a different time in history.
So, like, it's a different plane of existence?
It's a different plane of existence. They're all, they didn't come from traditional outer space, They didn't come from some planet.
Right.
They're on Earth, but they're on Earth in a different time and dimension.
Do they know that they're crossing into this dimension? Like they're able to cross into this dimension? They're aware of it?
Well, John Keel says, again, this is just John Keel says, that they don't even know, that's why they wear the outdated suit, because they don't know that to be in with the current trend.
Well, just like if we went to a different plane, we wouldn't know either.
Yeah.
Like they have the old wrong.
Right. They have the old car because they think that's what everyone's using.
Oh.
It's really strange. It's very strange.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does he know so much about them?
Well, this is just his his interpretation.
Right.
So,
okay. All right.
But Mary Hyre saw these people. And everyone gets like freaked out when they see them. It's something that's very creepy.
Yeah, it's creepy.
Yeah, they get real freaked out. And John Keel had a lot of experiences with the Men in Black too, which I can get to in a second.
But when I look at her picture, she doesn't look like, I don't know her. This is just like my energy. She doesn't feel like a liar to me.
Yeah. And she did have, I don't know, do you get a psychic vibe off of her?
She feels very psychic, but I don't know if she'd call it that.
Yeah.
Because I really see like off of her like energy waves that other things can hijack and get into her. If she's the one that is kind of like you said, the pulse of the town.
Yes.
Or if she's the one that's kind of like the message board for the town, if something's trying to give her a message, they're going to do it because she's the reporter. Like that's her manifestation of her ability to read the energy in the town and connect to it. So something could pick that up and just interpret that as, oh, people listen to her, this is a person to give visions to. This is a person to give messages to. This is a person to talk to because she reaches a lot of people.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
sense.
sense.
She's like a message board.
Yeah, and I do want to say, just because about premonitions, she did tell John, according to John Keel, she did tell him that she had this dream where she didn't know what time it was, but there were a lot of presents in the water.
Oh my God.
And something had happened on the Ohio River. She didn't know what.
It was Christmas time.
It was Christmas time.
And oh my God, chills.
So she saw a lot of presents floating in the water.
Oh my
she had
God.
like some ominous sign that maybe something was a premonition that something was going to happen.
Whoa.
And she told John Keel.
Okay.
And John Keel is also going to have visions of something that's going to happen too, which I'll get to soon.
Okay.
All right. Enter Connie Carpenter. She is the niece of Mary Heyer. Okay. She's young. I think she was 20 at the time. Mm-hmm. I could be off by a year or two on that. I apologize. Now she claims to have met the Mothman face to face, broad daylight. Okay. Most of the accounts are at night. They're in the TNT area. It's dark at night. It's 12 o'clock. It's midnight.
And that's her niece?
This is her niece. This is her niece. And it was probably it was a small town.
Yeah, it's true. It's a small town. Yeah, okay. That makes sense now.
This is November 27th, 1966. She says she locked eyes with the Mothman in broad daylight. She then quickly...
What happened? What was she doing?
Yeah, she was coming home from church. It was on a highway.
Oh, she was driving.
She was driving, yeah. Driving. Her eye, after it, she sped off, I think, again, 100 miles per hour, whatever it was. Her eyes, when they saw her eyes were inflamed. They were totally swollen. She had, I think they said conjunctivitis or something like that, which is just, I don't know, something with her eyes based on exposure to ultraviolet rays.
Okay.
So
she had some reaction to ultraviolet rays. Probably from looking at him. Possibly.
Something, yeah.
Okay.
And then she did also tell, she told her family, and then she told the police, she told Mary. And then she had run-ins with the men in black. So actually, she had one of the scarier run-ins where one of them tried to actually, I don't know if they were like physically, a little bit of a physical encounter where they were really trying to scare her and tell her, you never talk about this. I know where you live and things like that is what she said.
So they were talk about what? That she saw the Mothman, or talk about that she saw them?
Vague, but I would assume the Mothman.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and so her account is considered like one of the real major accounts of the time. Do you have? I don't know if you have her colors. Yeah,
so I found a picture of her, and it's interesting. It's an older picture of her, like where she's older in this picture, and even though she's older, she feels very childlike to me. She's yellow purple. I bet she was pink as a kid. I bet anything if I saw a picture of her as a kid, she was pink. Anyways, my point being that I can see a lot of people not taking her seriously about any like normal things. And then this happens. And I feel like I'm getting like her later in life, this picture. I feel like it really affected her. The people didn't believe her.
Yeah.
Which tells me she believed it. And because she's affected by people not believing her, if that makes sense. Like she almost feels victimized by people ridiculing her. And she's yellow purple in this picture, but like she just feels like she was probably a pink kid. So pink people usually are used to being ridiculed. So, I mean, this is something she could just say anything in life throughout and have a normal life, never meet the Mothman or talk about anything, and they're going to ridicule her for things. So this is like just a pattern for her I'm getting. But it's just interesting the angle I get. Because she feels victimized by people not believing her. And she feels like kind of stuck in that mentality. So for me, just looking at it, it's like something happened with her in life where she feels like people aren't kind to her. And so, I mean, it's an interesting story.
Yeah.
I feel like she believes it. And I feel like her aunt believes it. So far, the people, these two.
They believe it.
At least they believe what they saw.
Okay.
She
also does claim that she saw the Mothman one more time. She went back when John Keel came. They went to the TNT area, and she claims that no one else saw the Mothman that time, but she claims that she saw him again, or whatever, the entity again, in the factory.
The only thing I can say about that is just in people in general who, like her, she does feel more vulnerable for a lot of things in life. People being nasty to her, being victimized by people, being singled out of a crowd and hurt in other ways by people her whole life. And I do feel like entities and other energies can take advantage of people the same way.
Okay.
And so I think like sometimes people that are a little bit more vulnerable to that stuff will see it more.
All right. And I mean, just to put this out here, and I know we'll get into it a little bit more later, but you know, November 15th, those first sightings of those 4 people that saw it, that saw the frenzy. Now it's November 27th. 2 weeks later, is Connie Carpenter getting in on the fun? You know, does she want to, you know, that's what as a skeptic, I ask.
You have to ask that. Yeah. And she also, and I think that's because of that pink aura that I bet she had back then a little bit more.
Right.
That's exactly what they would attack her with.
Right.
Oh, you looking for attention? Because that's what pink auras get told a lot. You know, you're looking for attention. You want to be kind of like the damsel in distress. I totally feel... And whether that's true or not, I feel like she is affected by that.
Okay.
So it's almost like, and that's interesting too, just on sometimes I have to look at how I'm reading things and be like, what does that mean? Because I don't always know the answer. I just like know the energy, which is interesting to me. She feels more affected by the people not believing her than like a Mothman coming at her. Okay. That's interesting that you said that.
Yeah.
Because... that could mean something too.
Okay.
So far, you know.
All right. So, and again, the book is filled with characters. I couldn't pick them all. We'd be here for hours and hours and hours. Of course, you could read the book for yourself. All right. The last character I selected was a guy named Woodrow Derenberger.
Okay.
I apologize again if I said his name wrong. His case is a little bit different. He's got a little bit different descriptions and things of that nature. So he's a little bit different. And John Keel also says in this book that Woodrow's descriptions are a little bit different than the average person that he interviewed that had seen a UFO. Okay. So this is 1966. Again, we're in West Virginia. Woodrow's on his way home. He had to stop his truck because he had something in the trunk was jostled, and he stopped the car late at night, gets out of the car, turns around, looks, and he claims that a man-like figure gets out of an aircraft.
Oh.
A UFO, whatever you want to call it.
The UFO is where?
The UFO was like right in front of him.
Okay, so let me just, hold on.
Yeah, go one time.
Something's jostling in his trunk. He parks, he gets out, then he notices a huge UFO in front of him?
He sees the lights.
He's like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
He sees the lights.
Okay.
Yep. And then, he knows right.
Just trying to put it together.
Yeah, this one gets a little kooky.
All right.
This is where it gets a little kooky. And so some sort of aircraft, someone comes out of it.
Okay.
A man, I guess, or an entity, whatever you want to call it. He comes up to his car. The entity does.
Did you describe it?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
And now he never talked to him. He talked to him telepathically.
Okay.
But he said he's had a whole conversation with him.
Okay.
Again, telepathically. And we've done an episode on telepathy, so maybe it's possible. He says his name is Indrid Cold. Indrid Cold.
Okay.
Okay. He has the conversation, gets back in his car, goes to his home, tells the media, tells the police, tells the press, and this starts also a major frenzy. There are people day and night at his house, stalking on his yard, waiting for this Indrid Cole and spaceship to arrive. So it is just constant. He tells John Keel about this. Mm-hmm. John Keel comes, interviews him. He's a reporter, a journalist. He tells him about all these other encounters because Indrid Cole keeps popping up with this guy. So Indrid Cole keeps over and over appearing. In fact, Indrid Cole takes him to his home planet.
What?
I forgot the name of his planet, but he takes him to a planet.
Okay.
He tells him all these things, about other life and things of that nature. He did claim that he suffered from headaches. Woodrow claimed that he suffered from headaches and depression. So this is one's a little strange. There are things in here where he talks about losing time, where that he would go with Indrid Cole and maybe he'd see things that would take, maybe years to get to these planets. Who knows? But it would only be a matter of 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Does he have a family?
Yes.
This guy?
Yeah, he got divorced.
Okay.
Yeah, he did have a wife, but the wife said he was obsessed. That's all he would talk about was Indrid Cole.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, all he would talk about
She
is
divorced
Indrid
him
Cole.
because,
And I think he remarried, actually.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
So
from the home planet?
yeah, maybe. Who knows? But he's an interesting character because, again, John Keel says it doesn't fit all the narrative. But this guy, I mean, John Keel, I don't think how does this guy? I mean, he has to believe himself. Whether you think he's crazy or he's really being visited by Indrid Cold, he believes it, I think.
So I got a picture of him.
Okay, well, yeah. What's his take?
This one stresses me out more than anybody.
Okay.
It's an old photo, but he's very red. He's a red aura.
Oh.
And the word that comes to my mind is intense. Intense. Like, to the point where you would have to agree with him just to get him kind of out of your face. Like, okay, I totally believe you. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, please go away. Like, very intense. And can't handle. And again, I believe that he believes himself.
Right.
This guy.
That's what I thought.
I believe that he believes himself, even though that's such a crazy story. And I feel like he's obsessed with other people believing what he's saying. And I can see, and you guys, I don't know if you know what happened to this guy, but I get this feeling he had to submerge himself in a world where you would believe him, which would be a totally different crowd of people and a totally different pseudoscience community or something.
He left the area. He did leave. He got remarried. I believe he got remarried and he left the area.
Yeah, because I see, like, he can't handle people not believing him. So he has to go around people that would believe him like that. Because there are people that are like, totally. There are people like that. Most people aren't like that, but there are a lot of people who are like that. And I feel like he's just so red. And so he's got a kind of a sales vibe to me, though. So that's, like, the other thing. Like, he's trying to sell it in a way. And I wonder, I don't know him at all. This is just my psychic take. I mean, yes, he believes himself. There's a huge intensity, but just like with his colors and the way that he projects himself, it feels almost controlling. So I don't know, like, it turns me off a little bit. Like the other two that we looked at, like, especially Mary, like, I believe them, but this guy, it's not that I don't believe that he believes himself. It's just, I don't know.
You believe that he believes himself.
It got a little bit like, like when you said the wife said he was
just obsessed.
Yeah, I get that off him. It's a little weird.
All right. I think we need to take a little break. I want to then talk about John Keel, the stuff he saw, and then I really want to know his colors.
Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. Hey. After reading the Mothman prophecies and talking about it for the last week, I definitely need some dadgrass.
Yeah, dadgrass. Well, that'll mellow you out while keeping your head clear and ease away any stress of this day. Dadgrass is legal, organic hemp that relaxes your body and mellows your mind. Dadgrass CBD products are made with 100% organic hemp that's easy to dose, and the effects come on smooth. They offer a variety of products from their token smokable pre-rolled joints, as well as hemp flower and a variety of CBD tincture drops. Enjoy the effects of CBD while keeping a clear head. All Dadgrass products are federally legal for ages 18 and older, and it ships right to your door anywhere in the U.S. Go to dadgrass.com/KYA to check out their products. Whether you're looking for a new buzz or a chill way to enjoy an old favorite, Dadgrass will leave you in a euphoric mood. Right now, Dadgrass is offering our listeners 20% off your first order when you go to dadgrass.com/KYA. Go to dadgrass.com/KYA for 20% off your first order. That's dadgrass.com/KYA. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
All right. So, John Keel, what happens next?
All right, so let me get into John Keel now. Now, remember, he's getting the calls. He's not from Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Mm-hmm. He's from New York City. He lives in New York City. But he's getting calls to come to – everyone's saying, you got to get to West Virginia. You got to get to West Virginia. Because remember, he's big in the UFO field. Mm-hmm. He gets there, and he's hearing all the accounts, and he goes out with Connie Carpenter. He's made friends with Mary Heyer. And now things start to get weird for him. Again, he's there, and now he's really getting involved. He's starting to see the UFOs. He's having encounters.
What are these UFOs people are seeing?
Like, every night he goes up on, like, this hillside top, and he's seeing all these weird and strange lights.
Okay.
Constantly seeing them. He's now talking to Woodrow. He's getting really involved with the Indrid Cold thing.
Okay.
And he's claiming now that he's talking to men in black as well.
Oh, they're talking to him now.
They're talking to him now. He sees them all over town.
Yeah.
They're trying to stop him from interviewing all the people of the town.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're making up scenarios where they call people, like, impersonating him. He's claiming, it almost sounds like he's getting a little paranoid here.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's not. I don't know yet. We're not going to get there right now.
Yeah.
But he's, they don't want him interviewing. They don't want him snooping, these men in black. Mm-hmm. He sees them all over town. They're following him. And he's always going back from West Virginia to New York, West Virginia to New York. Mm-hmm. He claims that all his phones are tapped in New York. He's got running these huge phone bills, and he keeps calling the phone company, and he can't understand why.
That's crazy. Almost like the energy is getting outsourced or something.
Yeah, and then they couldn't figure it out. The phone company, and apparently someone took another line out in his name, so they were making calls from him. According to him, according to John Keel, to other people and using his name.
But this is the 60s. What phone line are they using?
This is your landline. This is not a cell phone. This is landline.
Yeah, and when he's calling, let's say he's in Point Pleasant, he's calling people, you'd call from your hotel phone or something. I don't understand that part.
He goes back to New York a lot. So he's going back West Virginia, New York, and then when he's in his apartment in New York, they tapped his phones.
Okay.
A lot of weird things like that. He's also claiming that he's getting premonitions from the men in black, or this Indrid Cold even. I'm not even sure that some disaster is going to happen in the Ohio Valley.
But he wrote this book.
Yeah.
When? After the disaster happened, right?
He writes this book in 1975.
That's
correct.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but he's also claiming that they're trying to tell him things. He's claiming that they're trying to tell him things. And a lot of people, and one theory, and we didn't get to this yet, was that the Mothman was there as a prophet or to tell the people that a tragedy was going to happen.
Like a harbinger of doom.
Yes, and moths throughout history have been considered a symbol of a disaster waiting to happen throughout history.
Oh, really? So it's interesting that they were calling it that, and that's what it symbolically means.
Exactly. So, and here's the thing. On December 15th, when this tragedy happens, when the bridge collapses, which we can talk about now, he claimed that something was John Keel didn't know what he thought it was going to be. Something with electricity was going to happen on that day. Something weird with electricity. It wasn't electricity. It was the snapping of the cables that broke the bridge.
Did he write this down before it happened?
Okay, so that's a great question, and here's the thing. First of all, the accounts that he's taking are third hand.
Okay.
And he's almost like in some ways, I know he gets really involved in it, but he's also it's like a secondhand account. We have to also take into the fact that he's the writer, okay? Mm-hmm. He wrote this book. I wasn't there. You weren't there. I wasn't even born yet. We weren't even born yet when he wrote it. And this is his take on it. Mm-hmm. So, this becomes a New York Times bestseller. There was an author who wrote about it beforehand, I think about 5 years earlier than him, didn't get any play.
Oh.
The book didn't get play.
Yeah.
This book becomes a bestseller. There's a movie with Richard Gere made about it. Yeah. But that's later. That's 20 years later. I think 2002-ish.
2002. That's a good movie. It's a good movie.
So, and in it, he's got a very big ego. He talks about himself like everybody wanted to see me.
Yeah.
Everyone was waiting for me to come to the TNT
that's how
area.
He talks about himself like that?
Everyone was wondering, where's John Keel? Like that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So, here's my problem with it. He's going there to report.
Yes.
And if a true reporter, I think, takes themselves out of the equation.
Yes.
And you just report what these people are telling you. But now he's in the story. He's becoming the Connie Carpenter. He's becoming the Mary Hyre.
Yeah.
He's not from Point Pleasant. He's just the guy that's supposed to report on Point Pleasant.
He becomes kind of the star of the show.
Yeah, now he's the guy talking to the men in black.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that everyone's tapping his phones, and they all want him.
Right.
So the thing I have to ask is, what are his colors?
All right, so he was easy to find a photo.
Yeah, he was really easy to find.
He's green and purple.
Okay.
The green's a little funny. It's a little chameleon-y.
Okay.
All right, because it's kind of like in and out. I guess there's a lot of, I think if you go into the UFOologist land, there's going to be a lot of green purples there because they can put logic and the woo-woo together, which is always interesting to hear about. That's why we like to usually gravitate to it. Also, green purple people can be real showboaters. They can. A lot of them are in the entertainment industry, artists and creators and actors and all sorts of things. So he's got that definite showmanship. So when I look at him, I feel like he's a showman. So sometimes showmen really bother me because something real I feel was probably happening there. But when somebody like this comes and grabs it, they wrap it up in so much, I don't know, frill and lights and, all this stuff that it actually takes away the truth of it, or that nugget of truth that's actually in there. Maybe isn't so magical, or it maybe isn't so ridiculous, or maybe isn't so out there or attention grabbing, but it's true. And so, that's what I don't know him, and this is just my psychic take, but I feel like he took truth and he put a lot of his own sprinkles on it.
Okay.
To make it, and in a way, maybe nobody would have heard about this if he didn't do that. So I can always put a little bit of a positive spin on things.
Yeah.
Because it does grab our attention. I feel like there is something to it, but I feel like his motives and his intentions were, look at me and
right.
Look how cool and I want to make money and like stuff like that.
No, he definitely brings attention to this.
And he wants to be like a celebrated UFOologist, which would probably annoy other UFOologists who are more into reporting exactly the facts and not the sparkles.
Yeah. He is the star of this.
He's the showman. Yeah.
Yeah. He even opens up in the first, now that I'm just remembering, in the first chapter, he tells this man, dressed in black with, shoes, everything, walks up to a house in the middle of nowhere. It's the middle of the night. And the people open the door and they're all freaked out, right? And they go to the local press the next day and say, oh my God, we've seen the men in black. It must be aliens. And then he's like, that was me. My car had broken down and I had needed a phone. So it's like
he's a flair for the drama.
He's got a flair for the drama.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's so many accounts in here, and with me in my red mind, I start breezing through a lot of these accounts because they're look, if all these were true, it's the end of the world as we know it. So
right.
Yeah. So okay. That makes sense. The green purple makes sense.
No, I feel like there's something happening here, and it's true because I look at, especially Mary Hyger, she feels very honest to me and genuine, and I feel like something was trying to speak to her.
Yeah.
And something was really trying to speak to her, but then she was never going to get out there more than her column, and people like John Keel can kind of be like, oh, let me take that and blow it up a little bit better.
Yes, and he was able to do that with this book, where the other guy, I can't remember the name of the first person, could not.
Yeah.
And it came out 5 years later.
But it was probably just a little bit more true and less interesting.
Yeah, and I'm sure from 1975 to 2002, he was pitching every producer, maybe even the Kardashian producers, to make this into a movie.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so there were some he did tell you a lot of interesting things in the book, though, as well.
It doesn't mean he's not a smart guy with theories who believes it.
Yeah, and the first thing that actually stood out to me was West Virginia. Okay, so the story mostly takes a little bit in Ohio, because remember I told you the bridge, you cross the Ohio River, you're back in Ohio, but mostly is West Virginia. And he said, every time he went to West Virginia, he had a weird feeling.
Yeah.
And the first thing I thought was, well, that's us.
Yeah.
You always have a weird
and
feeling.
And Brianna does too.
In West Virginia.
And Bree does too, our 13-year-old.
Could you explain it?
Ever since I've traveled through West Virginia
many times.
Many, many times in my life. Just it's between Buffalo and Florida, and just like other times and whatnot. Even before this, the second you said it was West Virginia, I was like, that makes sense. And every time, and I've been to, how many? I've been to like 45 states or something.
Like
okay.
That.
So I've been to a lot of different states. I've never had the feeling I have in West Virginia. And that is, people don't belong there. That's the feeling I have when we drive through. I would love to test myself on this. I feel like I could blindfold myself and know when I'm in West Virginia if we were on a road trip or something. Because it's just some vibe when we're in that state. It just doesn't, it feels like it's for nature and not me. Nature and not people. It's not for people. People aren't welcome there or something. And that's just, I've always had a weird vibe there. And it's interesting because we went on vacation this summer, and I never know where I am. If you know me, I can't find my way out of a paper bag. I never know where I am. And we stayed in two different parts in Virginia. And the first part we stayed, and I didn't know this till like after, Bree and I were like, God, it's such a weird vibe here. And I got over it because I'm like, well, we're on vacation. I'm just going to get over it, even though it's a really weird vibe here. But Bree did not handle it well. And then later, you were like, we were, after you read this book, you're like, so weird because we were on the West Virginia border.
Yeah.
Like that. And I'm like, that makes sense because it's just like get out feeling like that.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, he said
Why does he say that it's did he look into that at all?
Yeah, he even said like there were Native Americans there, but he even said they kind of try to stay clear of that region.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just said that it was just an area.
A lot of awful things happen in West Virginia too. Just books I've read about the coal mining industry and just like how they rip up nature there, and there isn't always like a lot of thought for the humans that live there too, and there's a lot of disrespect.
Okay.
Going on.
Yeah. All right. I mean, like
to the environment and to the people.
All I will say is, since I've known you've always said that West Virginia is a weird energy every time.
I agree with John Q.
All right. All right. The other things, he does have another interesting point that he makes about culture and, what do you want to call these entities, monsters, UFOs, whatever. Mm-hmm. And he brings up this point of the Garuda. Okay.
What's
so
that?
The Garuda, we have to go, if we go back to Hinduism and then later Buddhism, they have this deity, this divine creature that is like the king of the birds and looks very, similar in ways to the Mothman.
Okay.
So, he likes to, and it was like the protector. So that kind of considered like a protector, and it can fly away swiftly. They said, kind of the same thing that people were seeing with the Mothman.
And so people have seen that throughout time?
Yeah, and he does that a lot. He's saying, no matter when, where, whatever, throughout time, these things have happened.
Okay.
Just because it was UFOs in the 1960s doesn't mean he was talking about in the 1400s that people were claiming to see witches on broomsticks flying through the air.
So it's a cultural...
Yeah.
In our culture today, we see a light in the sky. We're like, oh, UFO.
Correct.
Maybe like 200 years ago, it was something else.
Right. 1400s, it's a witch on a broomstick.
Yeah, like what do they call BCE times? We're going to call that a god or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah, like the Greek gods in mythology, like
right.
Zeus and.
Yeah, but it's something.
It's always something, he says. And that's why he comes up with this theory where he doesn't believe that what he's seeing, the Mothman is from a different planet, so to say. It's not he doesn't call it extraterrestrial.
Okay.
He calls it ultra-terrestrial, meaning it's coming from this Earth, but from maybe a different time period or that has spanned the space-time continuum, which has been with us from the time of the Romans and the Greeks to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, to today.
And maybe there's different like portal places where
could be.
where it gets thinner and you can travel between.
Right, exactly. Then you think when we were in Casadega, Florida, didn't you say that felt like a portal type place? The whole thing
felt like a portal place. Like I don't feel like we pick places on accident.
So is this Point Pleasant, West Virginia area, the Ohio Valley?
Maybe it's a portal place. Yeah, like maybe something where it's just a little thinner. The dimension thing, like the overlapping dimensions. Mm-hmm. I mean that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because, and that, even if, like, let's say we just go there, because when we talk about space travel, you're like, to get billions of light years, miles, that doesn't make sense. And people are always like, why are the UFOs here? And then they just leave. Like, what's the point of coming all the way here? Yeah. Like, it doesn't make...
And my always thing is, how can we never see them in space?
How can we never see them in space?
How can we never see them flying in?
Well, there's not like a ton of people watching, I would say. Maybe that's why.
But NASA would be.
Okay, yeah. So all that, like, that actually makes more sense that they're coming from a different dimension.
That's what he says.
Or they're using dimensions to travel or something.
Correct.
And we just don't know how to do that yet.
Yeah. And I did think that was interesting. I was getting into that a little bit.
And that's interesting because, like, not just what he's talking about with the Hindu Buddhist deity. Like, I'm thinking about, like, Bigfoot or anything that we say we all see.
Correct.
Maybe it's from another dimension instead of something else. Well, I think the other side is another dimension. Like when we pass, I feel like we go to another dimension.
Yeah.
So
and it's interesting because all these things, it's always been throughout time. No matter when, it doesn't matter where you are on the globe, everyone has something for this. Like this Garuda in Hinduism now is showing up in West Virginia. It's
a Mothman.
Like it's a Mothman.
So it's just it's our cultural conditioning, and then we can project our own stuff on it too. Like UFOs, we're projecting all our own fears and issues onto what the aliens want from us or whatever, when it's really just, it could be something completely different.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting too, like taking into consideration our cultural thoughts about things and our time period.
All right, so so the question is like, is this possible?
Is it possible?
Yeah, and I had a few theories on this because I am skeptic. And
yes.
So the first one I had was, okay, this takes place. The TNT area.
Yeah.
Was after the factory went down, and the war was over and they stopped producing munitions there. It became a wildlife management area for birds.
Oh.
Okay, mostly birds. many owls.
So you're like, okay.
Sandhill cranes even were there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all these different type of birds.
So
it's a wildlife management area.
Put birds there, or
what's that?
Birds just showed up there? Or they put them there?
It was like an area that was heavily laden with birds and owls and things like that. So, one theory is, could it just be owls?
Were they just birds?
Yeah. Were they just birds that were freaking people out?
Yeah. Like really crazy birds.
Yeah. I mean, owls have those weird eyes, those big guys.
I mean, I think you live in West Virginia, you know what an owl is versus a Mothman. I'm going to say just with the hundreds of reports, but okay, fine.
But again, remember, it's late at night. You're looking for something.
That's true. When you are looking for something, it's easier to see it.
That's the thing, right? It's like when, let's say, take these you mentioned Bigfoot. Like when these Bigfoot hunters go out and they go out in the middle of the woods and they do like these shows on them sometimes, they're looking for Bigfoot. So they hear like a noise. And instead of it being like a deer, it's like, oh, it's got to be Bigfoot.
That's Bigfoot.
They hear like something fall instead of it being maybe a bear that they ran into. It's Bigfoot.
Yeah, because you're narrowing your senses to just accept anything that agrees with what you want.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So maybe owls. I don't know. I mean, it's a little stretch, but I don't know.
These people believe themselves, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, then there's theories like a frenzy. It's just a frenzy, because there's so many sightings and so many people are coming into the town and they're looking for it and they're there night and day.
Right.
And who knows, think about it. You go to the TNT area. All right, you park your car there at 10 p.m. You're sitting there. What are you going to do? You have a beer. You have a drink. I mean, otherwise you would just sit there all day. Sit there for 5 hours.
It's 1960s. You don't have a phone. You're not looking at a cell phone. Yeah,
what are you doing? Just staring at the dashboard?
You're staring at the sky.
All right. Okay. So I mean, this media frenzy. You want to get your name in the paper. You want to be, stuff like that. So
you think that could be
maybe that could have added to the amount of accounts.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And this is the one that for the Men in Black that I think for me.
This is your theory.
This is my theory. Okay, so it's in the TNT area, like we said. Mm-hmm. It was an ammunition factory. There's all these explosives underground. In the 1980s, they did a study on the land. Total hazardous waste.
Oh, but they put birds there. That's so mean.
Yeah, I know, right? Well,
maybe they're these like souped up birds.
Yeah, maybe that's another theory too. Radioactive birds.
Okay.
So
like big birds just coming at people,
So I don't know,
like Sesame Street big bird.
Yeah, but it could be that. That could be. And a lot of people, and that's another theory. A lot of people claim after they saw the Mothman, like they passed in the years, but maybe they were just hanging out too much in this radioactive wasteland.
Okay. All right, but go on.
My theory is, look, maybe these were people that wanted people to stay away from the area. So they weren't Men in Black. They were Men in Black, but they were maybe from the government or an agency, or maybe they were like a bunch of green dudes, from the agricultural department, like trying to get people to stay away.
Just really weird dudes.
Yeah, just really weird green people. Green, the color
like green,
not Martians. Yeah,
right.
and they were just like trying to get people like to mind their own business. They probably knew that the land was probably destroyed from like the chemicals, and you were even saying West Virginia notoriously is bad on the land.
They're terrible at the land there.
And maybe they were just trying to get people to like not say anything, and maybe they wanted to keep this hush hush because they knew that it was a toxic wasteland.
I know there's a lot of corruption there with like the companies and how they treat the land and chemicals and things they're probably not supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe they were just trying to avoid like lawsuits.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
Who knows what they were trying to avoid? They just didn't want people snooping around.
Okay.
And that's who these Men in Black were. They came and they, harassed people.
It's just weird with the cars and the whole thing like that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, look, I'm not sold either way on this.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
You read the book, which we'll link in the notes. You read the book. I did not. I just know West Virginia is a weird vibe. And I really feel like something happened here. And I feel like there is more to this world than we see. But the way that we pay attention to things sometimes is it just gets out of hand, and we just latch onto those out of hand details instead of the things that are the consistent things. And the consistent things are so consistent, it feels like something actually was happening there that was out of our world or out of our understanding at this time.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. Yeah. I actually do. Something went down there.
If you just keep the consistent details that everybody had, something happened.
I agree.
And ignore kind of like the fringe stuff, something happened.
I totally agree. And it actually is fascinating to me. Like, I've actually been, like, obsessed with it recently.
Yeah.
Ever since I started, I actually looked into it because I want to know, hey, what happened in the Mothman after the bridge collapsed?
Yeah.
And they said there was very few sightings in Point Pleasant, but they did then turn it into, like, a tourism type deal there now. They have the Mothman Museum. It's the only one in the world, they claim. I actually called them the other day.
Did?
Yeah, I did. I didn't tell you that.
You've been checking the Mothman camera.
They have a live Mothman cam of the statue that they have in the middle of town.
Yeah.
They have a festival in September.
Oh.
I'm like, we got to go.
I know you really want to
go. I think someone on the page said they had been.
Oh.
I think they did to the festival.
Yes, they did.
That's in the Mothman that saw the festival.
Yeah, they said it was a creepy experience.
Yeah, I want to know it. Tell me what happened. If you're listening, write on the page what happened there. I want to know what happens at this festival. I want to go to this festival. It's right out. I think it's on my birthday. I think it's September 22nd. I think it takes place.
Perfect for you. You hate your birthday.
They don't actually like my birthday.
Then you'd
this
like
year.
it that year.
I called the store because I was trying to get a picture of. They didn't write me back, and they didn't call me back of Connie Carpenter when we were trying for the research.
But I found it.
You did find it. I ordered a shirt, so I got my Mothman shirt coming. Yeah. so I just want to. It's like really fascinating. It's just fascinating.
What fascinates you about it? Because you kind of don't believe it. So why are you so into it?
It's like. I don't believe it.
Like, you think it's souped up radioactive owls. So, like, what don't you believe?
I just want to know everything that happened. I just want to know. I'm just trying to piece it all together in my mind.
Yeah.
Because this account is just from John Keel, and I don't take one person's account. I can't take everything from one person's account.
You can't.
So I've been just trying to get information from other places to see if I could piece it together. To see if there's any real truth to this, and I think there is a little bit. I mean,
I said, I think so too. Yeah. I think there's truth. It's just maybe less spectacular and more. Yeah. I think honestly, the paranormal is normal. That's the thing. And if you and people would believe it more if they understood that, like that's what we're trying to do here, and demystified it a bit. And then if you think about it, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. And I think today they say the Mothman's been flying around Chicago a lot.
So Mothman today, I had to look into it. Because I'm like, what? He just came in the 60s to Point Pleasant and then that was it?
Sure.
No. I guess he's been around to a lot of different places. For example, it's been reported that the Mothman had predicted kind of foretold the Chernobyl disaster in 1986. I guess there were sightings, and then the Mexican swine flu outbreak in 2009, and then sightings, and then the 2011 nuclear disaster in Fukushima, Japan.
That's it. What year was Chernobyl?
1986.
That was 1986. Okay. It's interesting that these are around plants and then like power plants and things like that.
Yeah.
And also kind of Point Pleasant was kind of the same type of thing.
Yeah. And you wonder, is it government stuff
that's what
we don't know? Or are they attracted because like that type of energy, where does nuclear, here I go. Where does that even come from? Do we even know what we're tapping into thoroughly? I'm sure there's nuclear scientists and physicists that could like, oh, this is and then like I'd be like, okay, but like, what is that? What are you tapping into? Like, what do you create when you make that?
Yeah,
Stranger Things portals? I think so.
I think so.
Okay. Well, anyways, he's also been cited in the Chicago O'Hare Airport, people.
Oh, okay.
And it's so much, it's like a thing. It was in 2011, a couple times, 2017, it really peaked. And even now, it's been seen hanging around the Chicago O'Hare International Airport, which is kind of scary. This is a quote from a 17-year veteran of the U.S. Postal Service. Okay, this is his quote. this is what they said. I saw that this was not some person, but a red-eyed creature, and what appeared to be a coat were actually wings, which it spread out as it turned to look at me. And people are saying kind of the same things as like you described: humanoid legs, a tall figure, helicopter movements, the red eyes. And it's not being taken seriously, but it's happening enough that people are aware of it, apparently. I'd love to hear some of our Chicago listeners.
Yeah, we have a lot of Chicago listeners.
Have you heard of this?
You know, I have a discussion group. There's a lot of people from Chicago in it. I think one of them might actually have seen the Mothman. I'm going to I have to ask them. No, or maybe he's there for the deep dip dish pizza. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, now if he is a harbinger of bad things, Chicago is always in the news. Yeah. And I actually have talked to some people from Chicago in our discussion groups, and they say, you know, there's so much violence, so much crime. Some of the stories they were telling us of just random killings they were telling me, random killings on highways and things like that.
It's bad. I know. I listened to some report lately. The police department, they feel desensitized. It's happening so much. Right. It's absolutely horrific.
So that would fall in line with the idea that the Mothman came to tell them of the
things
bridge.
Are getting bad here.
Yeah,
like a bad vibe.
Yeah. Although when going back to the Mothman again with the Silver Bridge, no one ever said it was going to be the bridge. You know, no, they all thought some doom was happening, but no one said it was the bridge. You know.
But Mary Hyer's premonitions to me were those are specific with the gifts in the water. I mean,
it could be.
Okay, here's the deal. We asked the Mystic Michaela spiritual family to give us your supernatural encounter stories, and you guys not only delivered, like, it is the most bone-chilling thread I feel like I've ever read on. And when we did the Glitch in the Matrix episode, you guys brought it then too, but this stuff's like freaky. And some of you, I could tell you're like, fine, I'll tell it. I've been holding this for years because I know people think I'm crazy. So these are really good stories. And here's one of them.
Yeah, and I just want to say this.
Yeah.
I might not believe John A. Keel, but when it comes to people of the Mystic Michaela spiritual family, I'm more likely to believe them. Yeah. So I haven't gotten through them all either. Yeah, we haven't. They just keep coming in.
They're amazing.
And that's why we're going to do this again next week. But let's hear it.
So you got to hear this one.
Okay.
So this is from Jessica. She says, all right. When I was about 8 years old, my mom and I shared a room and slept in bunk beds with me on the top. One night, we both saw a humanoid figure appear in the corner of the room. He was about 10 feet tall and wearing clothes made out of a fabric I've never seen before or since. His clothes were black, but sort of faintly sparkly or iridescent, and appeared to be reflecting light from somewhere else. He crossed the room to stand next to the bunk beds on the long side near our heads. He crossed his arms, bent over, looked me in the face and smiled. Then he stood backed back into the corner and disappeared. My mom says that while this was happening, she felt like he was keeping her from moving somehow. Not in a harmful or malicious way, just in a I'm here for her, not you sort of way, I guess.
That's creepy. And in the book, John Keel does a lot of the people that he interviews that had these encounters with these men in black. They couldn't move. A lot of them could not move.
That's crazy. And then the telepathy, you know. So it sounded like a Men in Black situation to me.
So, yeah, because the clothes.
Yeah, the clothes, the black, all that. Okay, we had so many of these stories. My initial plan was to actually read some of them on here. I didn't realize this recording would take this long. And I do not want to rush through these stories. And actually, some of your stories have a lot to do with other phenomena and events. So this is what we want to do. We want to do this next week so we can take your stories and link them to phenomena and events and get more in depth.
Definitely. And also, have you been to the Mothman Festival?
Take Scott with you.
Please, first of all, take me with you. If anyone has an in there, I want to go. Give me some VIP.
Go.
I want a VIP ticket.
You want to go behind the scenes?
I'm a red. I have to be a VIP ticket.
You go with the TNT.
Yeah, I gotta get into all the sites. I gotta bring all the equipment. I gotta probably bring the long-haired ghost hunter with me just for fun. And and if you have any Mothman sightings, I know I wrote it on the Facebook page.
Nobody believed you.
And everyone thinks I'm joking, but I'm actually serious. So if you have seen the Mothman or you had a sighting, put it down. Keep going on the thread. We're not going to close the thread. I still got to get through a lot of those to read. I'm going to read them all.
Yeah, we're going to group them into categories.
We're going to try to group them into categories.
For next week.
We thought we can pull it off in this episode. We can't.
We can't.
We just can't. It's just too
cool.
much.
It's too cool.
It's too cool.
And we opened up a portal now.
And then the other thing is I'm like still fascinated with this, so I wanted to keep going. I want to keep going with this Mothman stuff. So
okay.
All right.
So this podcast is for you and about you, and we're so glad you spent some time with us today.